Morning. Thank you very much, Press Secretary, Mrs. Kamala John Baptist Aaron. Let me also recognize the presence of the Minister of Trade and Parliamentary Representative for the Portsmouth constituency, of course, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Planning, Chris Timmins from MMC, Mr. Joseph, who presented to us, and associate staff of MMC, members of the media and press. Good morning to all. Also to our listeners, both the domestic and both overseas. This morning is a special morning for us in terms of the presentation of this project. We can all recall in about 2 years ago when Tropical Storm Erica affected Dominica tremendously, in particular the areas of Petite Savanne, the Roseau Valley, and some of the southern villages. And we had to deal with something very, very catastrophic. Worst yet for the folks of Petite Savanne. And during that period, it became very difficult for the government of Dominica because we had a whole village that was really vulnerable. And of course, when we visited there, we saw the slides. We know of the death of a number of our friends, family members who lost their lives, and the devastation to that area in terms of livelihoods as well too. And government, we had to think very, very fast there. And I must commend the Prime Minister and his cabinet, which I'm part of it, for really taking the bull by its horns and deciding, let us engage, affirm the capacity to deliver a project for us in that area to relocate and resettle the people of Petite Savanne. This was done. We had to acquire in excess of something about 40-something acres. We have a serious development taking place to relocate our people of Petite Savanne. We were well on our way, as we know. Then we were visited by Hurricane Maria this time, and it totally devastated the housing stock of Dominica. This is why we are here today again. But I must admit as well too, we're visiting the MMC site where the construction is taking place at Bellevue Chopin. I am seeing resilience there, because every single shell has stood there, and Maria, we know, has passed over the entire landscape of Dominica. So it means that we had already taken into consideration building back better and in terms of resilience and climate change, which is something that's been articulated seriously, and Dominica has caught the stage in terms of the first climate resilient island on Earth. So I think it's something very good for us. We are here today to launch two new projects, again with the MMC partnership, and we're looking at the Georgetown area. Georgetown is a very, very flat area, quite a bit of access, proximity to a number of the business areas and whatnot, and the inclusion, which will be presented to us just now, lends well to a modern development, taking into consideration the whole view of building back better and building in terms of climate resilience. We are also here to launch the Pong project. But those of us who have known Roseau, and those of us who live in Roseau, and those of us who are familiar with Roseau, we would like to see something much better, in the perimeters of the financial center and the ministerial building, because this happened to be a very important part of Roseau. And I'm very happy, I must admit out of my heart, to see something come nice for Roseau in terms of its beauty, its durability, its face, and what it can lend. Your stadium is right there. The ministerial building is right there. Very, very resilient building. It was built, and I'm sure in those days it wasn't built in reference to the pillars and the water flowing under there. This is something that we are studying in terms of how well we design that area. Pong will lend to a serious development in Roseau to include all your business, little business shops, to empower the people in that area, to work with the people of that area too. For years they have been in shacks, and it has been an ugly sight in terms of Roseau. So I'm very happy to be here today to launch these two major projects. As acting Prime Minister, it's the government's policy and the policy of our Prime Minister in terms of the vision and what's been articulated internationally and globally to really build a modern city that's resilient. From what I see here today and what I've seen from the presentation, I'm seeing something that's very resilient, something that can stand up to the force of Hurricane Maria type events. We know for sure that there may be events in the next whatever years to come, because we happen to be in that part of the world, but we can live here peacefully by building properly. So today, with these few words, I'd like to say we're very happy to be here. The presentation here is to present to our people the Build Back Better concept, to build resilience, and also to respond in a very, very quick manner. We know that over 90% of the houses in Dominica, they were affected. And there are still people, suffering in terms of the elements of nature when it rains. But with our quick response, and if we can deliver these projects in rapid time, taking into consideration that we may have the little seasons that we have to deal with, but building for that and preparing for that such that we can deliver these projects to make sure that we target all the folks around who have been displaced. And of course, we are also looking at some of the more vulnerable villages in Dominica based on their location, their floodplains and whatnot, whereby we can relocate some of this and resettle some of our communities in Dominica. These communities have been built modern in terms of putting every single thing that's required for them within that area, such that the people don't have to go out too much and look for business. The opportunities are right there, the shops are there, the business places are there. In Portsmouth, for example, we're looking at a government complex there one time. I think the city of Portsmouth, the town of Portsmouth, is a very important town, has developed quite a bit, and I can see the Georgetown development as a very serious one for Portsmouth. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very excited representing the Prime Minister here today and being the acting Prime Minister, and I think this project will then send Dominica to a much higher plane. Thank you very much.